The budget, the government's financial plan for the nation for the year to come.
Whether we're booming or busting, it's an annual news extravaganza, political event and economic moment.
Budget day, how are you feeling about Ireland?
I believe that it isn't really the farmer that should be taxed, it's the self-employer.
Eyes and ears from across the nation are trained on the Finance Minister as he makes decisions that will affect us all one way or the other.
I hope to give rise to the children's allowance.
You're on an old age pension. It's been increased by about £3, £3.15. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's not bad.
I think if he continues to increase the tax on cigarettes by 10p, he won't have to bother about lung cancer.
As I say, in this day and age, having a bath regarded as a luxury.
The budget has left the sunny southeast with a dark cloud over it.
And 5% in golf balls. I wasn't aware of it.
If you forget the politics and economics and pare it back to the basic maths, there are two options for any would-be finance minister. You can run a deficit, spend more than you take in, or run a surplus, take in more than you spend.
There's lots of debate over when it's the right time for an economy to be in surplus and when it's the right time to run a deficit.
The figures which are just now becoming available to us show one thing very clearly. As a community, we are living way beyond our means.
If you run a deficit, the government will normally need to borrow to pay for services. If you run a surplus, the government can either pay down debt or save the surplus for a rainy day.
In the budget, the Minister for Finance sets out how much the government wants to spend next year on everything it manages, from social welfare to healthcare.
Why should the government take away medical cards from students when it can hand out every week £26, £27 to people on dole who don't work or don't do anything?
8% rise in welfare benefits for the unemployed. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I don't think it's quite enough at all.
It also sets out its best guess for how much it will collect in tax next year.
There seems to be a constant need for more money.
And it'll usually juggle between taxes and spending, some going up, others going down, depending on what it thinks people want and the economy needs.
As we know from yesterday's budget, there's 6p on this, 3p on this, and 16p on a double of this.
In one city bar, there was a ritual taking of early morning coffee as an antidote to last night's tasting of the last of the reasonably priced whiskies.
Well, I would very much like to see the implementation of the Commission on Social Welfare's report.
My business is very bad with petrol and that, because we have a very low profit margin.
I'm expecting reductions in taxes like everybody else, both indirect and direct.
I think the Minister has already blown the chance of any kind of a serious budget.
The government has been saying since July that the overall package in Budget 2020 is to be €2.8 billion.
That means €2.8 billion for new spending or new changes to taxes.
But €1.9 billion is pre-committed. That means changes announced in previous budgets that will be followed through next year and extra costs from changes in the population and so on.
While €200 million has been set aside for the National Broadband Plan and the National Children's Hospital.
That leaves €700 million to be divided out in Budget Day announcements. And after everything is spent, the government is aiming to still have €1.4 billion, which it'll set aside as a surplus.
That's a big figure, the biggest surplus in over a decade. But that surplus is in no way guaranteed, because Budget 2020 isn't a normal budget. It's been drawn up based on a no-deal Brexit scenario.
If that happens, the government has indicated it will borrow to provide support for the parts of the economy worst hit by Brexit, like the agri-food sector and the tourist industry.
So the surplus will go out the window. Instead, the government will borrow upwards of €5 billion next year.
The economy is in a really strange place. Look one way and we're about to record the most significant surplus in over 10 years. Look the other way and the surplus is about to be wiped out.
A budget attempts to frame the future, but this one, more than any other, is a massive leap in the dark.
And 5% in golf balls. I wasn't aware.